Hello all, Dr. Fox back here with you with Weekend Update. Man, we're back. We're here for the Weekend Update. We're ready to rock and roll, aren't we? Yeah, well, I've got a lot of little things to catch you up on. How's that first patch 9.1.5 treating you? We'll get into some little tips and tricks on that, or just some fun facts that may sort of help you. At least it would for me, and something I found out a little after. We'll get into that. Congratulatory going out to Trent Allie in a few weeks, and I'll talk about that. And a thank you card from a very special lady and a superhero of mine. She saved a little kitten this weekend. We'll send a shout out to them as well. And then, of course, speaking of that, you can see Miss Mora over there on that side of the screen. And let's get into this, shan't we? Dr. Fox back here with you with the Weekend Update. We got Veterans Day coming up this week on the 11th. So for any of you individuals out there going to be doing that, share that with me if you are. And if you're going to go do those goodies this week or any other ones. I know there's all kinds of things from haircuts to oil changes to food and all kinds of goodies. So we'll have to kind of see how that unravels this week as well. And a quick thank you. I had a healthcare worker and this nice friend of mine. She sent me this cute little meouch, and I just thought that was the cutest little thing ever. So she'll watch my weekend updates every once in a while. I don't know if she catches every one of them, but if you do, hey chica. So just a shout out to you, and I appreciate your support while I've been healing. And we did a 6-week update. If I get into any of this, it's kind of still a bit sore here. It feels very thick and tough. They did the incision here, so like if I make these, I think I talked about this on my 6-week update there. And if I go something like this, I can feel this really intense thickness in here. I know the nose can take rhinoplasties can take up to 6 months to a year generally. And it's been a little struggling. I have to constantly clean it. The way they reshape my nose, not to sound gross or anything, some people will, like this. And to be honest, I never really did that much. And I just for giggles, I thought I'd try. I can't even. Usually, I used to. If something really irritated me around the edges, I would use like the pinky. And I can barely move my pinky around. And I tried that, and I said, "Whoa, that's weird." Which is fine because I always pretty much just as a lady myself, a very proper lady. Not that defines proper ladies, but all I'm saying is. And there's many human beings I know that are all genders and all races that do something similar. I use a Q-tip, and I'm finding that every once in a while when there's it's our nature's filter, and every once in a while when I find a good chunk of filtration, then I'm able to easily remove that, and it kind of works that way. So for those that were wondering about how that worked. Through that time frame, I know I've been getting a lot of questions. They're like, "What do you do?" And when you come to that, and I know some of the other questions I get sometimes is, "You're not worried about sneezing your nose up?" No, the way there's all these incisions around it. That was one of my fears. I mean, I had done research prior, but still, even with the research, I was always like, Is that going to happen? Like, are we going to be all right if I have this? And I don't think I had my first sneeze for maybe a couple of days after recovery. And I think when I did, I just go like that. And I don't think it really felt like any. And to be honest, that first probably month or so, I was like going like this just to make sure. But it's fine. It's all solidified inside. And that's with the microsurgery they do that internally inside the nostril area. They do it up through the gum. They do it in when they did all my face shaping. That was all stitched through the inside of my gums here. If I move my tongue around like that, I can feel there's thickness back here still on both sides. I know I got kind of off on another rant of like the process and the frustrations of that. But I just to hit a few bullet points. I've been applying scar cream every day, and I can definitely start to feel that weird little like scar bump as scars heal. Like for instance, like I have a scar here, and there's this weird feeling. I've had scars. If someone were to shave my head, they'd see I have scars all over my head. I've been trying also to very vicariously as my hair slowly growing back. I know I've got some alopecia in there. Like I said, I haven't had the money. I moved around. I felt I needed to put the hair thing on hold for a little longer. First off, to let my poor head heal, because that is still very hard. I feel no real nerve endings there. It's all tough, hard, thick, and it's like I can't feel anything. It feels numb when I do that, even to this day. So, but that's part of them when they remove that there's still this massive scar. Like I said, I kind of feel like the Bride of Frankenstein, the way where they did that. There's a lot of controversy whether someone would have their head cut here and then put onto another body, or cut here to replace the brain in there and reconnecting all the major nerve endings and cerebellum and the spine, and because there's so much involved in that, in the mechanics of that. But I can't really talk about that. Well, I guess you can overseas, but God forbid over here, it's like, this big taboo thing. I mean, we've been seeing this in we've seen that satire pushed in pop culture and even early film. Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein. I could go on and on and on and on with these mad scientists. Actually, the reason that's more predominant in my head recently is just because last night was the season finale of Eli Roth's horror coverage, and they were talking about mad scientists last night. And some of those stuck in my head. I was like, yeah, I love those movies. Those are great. Because it's like we sometimes we got to be able to cross over, but I like how sometimes the stories will look at, sometimes even if those new technologies are available to us, we have to be cautious about how far we take that. The only problem is in my opinion, society puts too many red tapes and block on certain systems. We understand we've got to have some rules in place or it'll be complete anarchy. I get it. But there has to be a better way to implement some of the things that we need, whether it be some kind of, dysphoria. Like for instance, I was excited at my dysphoria for the neck. I don't have cancer, but in my opinion, it's like someone having cancer. It's like how a lot of individuals be like really down and sad and angry and upset, and they're very tired and exhausted, and they don't want that chunk of cancer to be there anymore. Some will have it all throughout their body. And for me, now I do have melanoma. I have skin. I've been treated for skin cancer. I still have some forms of it. Those that have seen me will know that I have these dots all over my body. They're moles, if you will. And trust me, there are times of my dysphoria where I wish I could just have all those removed. There is laser treatments for that, but it all comes down to this. You can't just get rid of a dysphoria of this. Then and so with that, I just said I was very, very excited to the doctor, the surgeon. And I said, thank you for taking away one of my dysphorias. And they're going to take away another dysphoria coming up for me at the end of November. And then there's others, like there might be someone that has a skin dysphoria and they need to, say a white person needed to look black. So they've got to get the injection so that their whole body looks black, or vice versa. Maybe a black has to look like a white, or an individual, an American that is not just made up of different aspects. Let's say it's a white Caucasian American that has to look like an Asian, so they have this dysphoria to integrate that. But all I'm saying is I'm trying to share examples with you. It could be a dysphoria that someone can't walk with their legs anymore, and they want to be able to integrate that type and take away that. But again, it's all how we look at it, and it's all how we present it, and it's there's so many aspects to it without sounding like someone misinterprets that, edits it to make it sound like some derogatory term. And no matter what I say or try to explain it in some scientific reasoning, that someone will have a rebuttal to it. So with that said, I want to say and I don't want to get too excited, but I like to still send out a congrats now. I think they're having it in about 3 weeks. Is that proper to say? I think somewhere it's November 23rd, and 1 week before my surgery. November 23rd, they're expecting, congrats to Trent Allie out there, they're going to be having a little baby. So they've got a baby coming. And then 1 week after she delivers, I will be having my second throat surgery. So, and before people start throwing speech therapists and vocal trainers my way, trust me, I've already tried 7 of those speech therapists. I've had tubes put down my throat. I used to be one to help. I put the first lesson in my first book I wrote. So shameless plug. I'm not going to push that right now. I'm still trying to buy the rights back to that. But that's a story for a different day. And I've tried everything. I've tried to find an androgynous level. Not that we should have to, because society, a lot of people are just like, well, I'm just going to sound like this or that, and screw everybody else. Or we try to find something that's there, but then you get other trends that go, geez, if I can't get my voice to not clear a certain way and a certain octave and a certain level without sounding like Minnie Mouse, but then you've got other ones that fight and go, if you've had a trachea shaved, then how dare you? They make us feel like we're not allowed to have that option if we so chose. Or some think that they had it done, and then, oh no, they've had, they can't sing anymore, they got raspy, or it's really tight. Yeah, it's tight for me. I look at it like this, like I'm now in a not different body, but I'm definitely trying to get used to my new face, which I've talked to many, and as the swelling comes down, it's nice when I'm talking to a few individuals at the Veterans Administration, or VA for short. And they're like, Jen, I've never seen you smile. And I said, it's because I'm starting to get some of the dysphoria taken care of. When you live inside of something that you can't take care of, and it should be taken care of internally or through main care, Medicare. A lot of people are like, I don't want to pay for your surgeries. And they're not electives. These are medical necessities that are needed, and they should be covered. And when they put you through so many red tape and rigmarole, we understand why some of it needs to be there, of course, within reason, but not to have someone put it through such agony that I've had to be put through. Someone can put $1,000 down and have an insurance in less than a year, and they've got their thing covered in a 2-year plan, a 2-year coverage, and it's all covered, and they're recovering, and they're all tickled pink, and they're much happier. And in the meantime, I'm over here saddened because I'm reminded every time I change my clothes, every time I go to the bathroom, every time I go to bed, every time I bump into something, every time, if God forbid I can't talk properly, every time I have to put a sweater and tie it around there and worry about that. Like every time I wake up in the morning and I do my voice lessons in the morning, and I'm trying to think about that, or I was trying to hide this vicariously by like bending my head a certain way, or trying to be cautious about how much weight you had on you to distribute it to help you. I used to have a lot of ponytails because the contours of my face weren't as predominantly male or the definition of a facial feature of what male and the Y chromosome will do. But it's still, in a lot, then you'd get mixed signals from the way people would look at you. You have people that work in the Hollywood industry, and some of them wouldn't bat an eye at you. Others would be like, yeah, you do look like a gay man with breasts. Then you've had other really angry, ugly people that want to hide behind those things and say those terrible things. I shared that one of the terrible things they said to me on Instagram, and some are like, woohoo, that means they're excited, they're talking about me, they get a high off of it for doing it. They're like, just ignore it because they don't want to give them that. Now, I'm not empowering anybody and I'm not giving them power, but they'll think otherwise. And it's just that kind of thing. It's not needed. You spend over $100,000 and someone still calls you out or still tells you some problems or there's, and we know it, and it's not about, it has nothing to do with trying to make, because a lot of times I get the rebuttal, we can't make everybody happy. That's not me saying I'm trying to make everybody happy. I'm just trying to say that this is not how the world should be functioning. I'm also not a Karen trying to tell what people should be doing or any of this kind of thing. It's just this is not how the world should be functioning in any form or fashion. I think with that, let's kind of switch gears. We'll kind of leave that in how you want to portray that and think about that, and step back and take a few minutes to kind of contemplate about those circumstances. You know, it's a complex thing, and I think with that we'll get into the new 9.1.5 drops. And here's a couple of tricks, little tips and things that I wish I knew before I got there. Now, I've actually implemented most of these, but there's one of them I go, oh, I didn't know I could do that. And I was going to probably try that eventually, or try to figure that out. So the good news is we have here, before anyone, if you can hit tier 6, the good news is I'm almost tier 6. I should hopefully, if I can get on today for a little while after my weekend update, and a little bit maybe tomorrow, I may wrap it up. It depends on how many treasures I can find. I always do my dailies in Korthia. It all depends how many elites I'm able to stick around for a while and find that they pop up, or a few that I can even get to in time. That there's a lot of little factors involved, but I highly recommend, if you don't have that whistle toy yet, you go up in the upper left-hand corner of Korthia in that little area where there's a lot of bears. And I installed, is it Handy Notes, Shadowlands? I think that was the one we used. I know some will also use a few other add-ons. There's also Tomcat Tours. And there should be an icon up there to show you where the toy is. Then you look up into the specific tree. You'll see the purple toy up there. And you've got to run around with those. If you've been playing it and you're like, what are these little butterflies with the sparkles coming off of it? Well, when you grab those, what you want to do is I had to vicariously, I must have tried it about 7 times. And I finally was trying to get the bear, and everyone was coming through, and they're killing bears, and it's making it hard for me to get the proper bear. And then I get a bear, and he wouldn't hit. A couple of them didn't hit the right tree. And so what you got to do is you got to stand back a little ways. You got to throw the butterfly to the bear. The bear will give you a temporary ride, but they'll automatically start running you somewhere. So you got to be very careful about guiding them to hit that tree. And then I hit it once or twice, and it didn't fall. And I guess I wasn't hitting it maybe the proper location or something. And eventually it finally fell. So it just takes a little tweaking to do. It's not as easy as someone's like, oh, it's easy. You go up there. No, it's not this. Maybe it was easy for them. I don't know. But I also know my hand-eye coordination is a little different than it used to be when I was younger. But that's just, that will help you get, and I put it down in my action bar, that toy, the whistle, and that allowed me. It's a 5-minute cooldown, but it would help me get to the elites quite often. And once you hit tier 6, one of the things you definitely want to pick up right away for your main. So the good news is you can give it to your main, and then you can start sending it to all your alts that maybe you might want to, or even just give it to all your alts if you ever decide, if you have that much. Again, it's a good little chunk to research, but it'll add 50%. It's the research report relic examination techniques. And I've been keeping my close eye on that. I hope I can finish up either today or tomorrow. Or I said no later than maybe Monday or Tuesday if I can get my dailies done, if I can't find a lot of treasures and a lot of elites out there to finish this up. I think I only need like 3,000 something, and I've been able to get that in a day. But I've also only gotten 375 in a day. So, well, that was slightly before it dropped, because we know that you get more, and I have been starting to see more of the enemies, and they did mention this. This is one of the changes. Some of the regular small enemies out there, the NPCs that you kill, they will be highlighted in purple too. So if you kill them with purple, I'll get like 10 research just by killing one of those. So anytime I'm running around and I see a purple character, I'm like, ooh. And sometimes I'm running really fast on that ghost bear whistle mount that I'm talking about, and I'm like, ooh, and I do a quick U-turn. I run back to get it. And so that's one. Renown, good news. Now, okay, this is the thing I didn't know. I thought I had to max my characters at 60. So what I've been doing is during Hallow's End, I'll go to the fire pit out front, like for instance Stormwind. It's similar to that for Orgrimmar, Undercity. Excuse me, the Underkitty, as I like to call it with my guild, and they know I like to say it that way. But you go up to the big fire pit and you get that little buff that gives you like the 2-hour 10% rep and the 10% XP. And then I'll start flying around doing the just tricks or treats. I don't need any more of them. I'm just doing it for the XP. So I have that bonus on. And then in between while I'm flying around, I would queue up and I'd get from like, most of my characters had to still do them all. You can now skip them all, but these were characters I had ran through them all. I spent that hour, and which is fine because you get like about if you do it with war mode on, you can pretty much get about a level. And most of my characters would be to like level 51 to 52. And then I would bring, if you have any extra items for Dark Moon Fair, that ends today unless you're seeing me tomorrow. Then it ended this past week. I'd turn in the what is it, the Dark Moon Fair Dungeoneer, whatever. You get the little ones that drop in the dungeon, and I'll have a few of those drop. My main guild has a ton of those, but I'm saving those for some of my alts eventually, or some of the other guild members have used a few of them too. So one thing I didn't know is so most of my characters you can see here are 51, these last two, and I've spent the last week or so when I had a little downtime, queue for a dungeon here, queue for there, and then so that's what I did for Stephanie was the Hallow's End. When Hallow's End ended, I did Dark Moon Fair came up this week, so I was doing some of the quests in there that give you some XP while I was queuing, and I'd make sure to go back to the carousel. And sometimes you die in the dungeon, and sometimes you're lucky enough that I'll finish it, and then someone will queue us immediately for another one. Like, oh heck yeah, let's keep this moving. But then if you can find a few moments to bounce out, and it's good to leave your character near the carousel, though sometimes when you're waiting for that first queue, it can be like a 10-minute queue wait. You can put it in looking for group custom, but I don't find that to work much often. I just pretty much grab the shadow dungeons and go. And then, of course, when time walking came around too, there's a lot of extra XP. And speaking of that, when we get into the calendar later, I will mention that the time walking coming up, you get a lot more XP for running that as well. And speaking of time walking, I think it's the following Monday or Tuesday when we get into the calendar. I can double check this for sure, but we have the next anniversary year coming up. So the amount of years of our anniversary will have a new bonus on top of the bonus. So you'll have that, and then you could run that through time walking dungeons to queue up for that. That's what I was planning on doing. And I've been hitting time walkings on my main character anyway, because I'm trying to save up time walking tokens for like the mount. I think there might be a new Legion toy or something that's coming. So with all that said, here's something I did not know. So as you're leveling these characters, right after I get off on the weekend update and I'm going in before I do my daily on my main to finish up the tiers to try to get a little closer to tier 6, is I'm going to buy one of these items that you can give them. You can give this renown. It's a renown boost for 500 gold, and it will boost your renown 1 to 60. I thought you had to wait till you pop level 60. Then you can give the item. When your character hits 50, you can send that to them and they'll pop right to 40. And I love opening it after I initiate it. And I like watching it go pew, 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 and it just all the way to 40. I'm like, all right. So I think I'll do that on the other two. And on your main, now that your main can switch covenants without you costing you anything, one of my ideas was to jump to the next main, like for instance, the Night Fae. I'm going to do the Night Fae next. So I'll grab the renown. You can bounce your renown right to 40, just like that. And then you can do everything from world. So pretty much what I do is I'll look for world bosses, like the elite world bosses that are up, callings, Torghast, and actually I had a guildie last week asking me, like, I don't know how to grind renown. There's actually going to be a few calling quests that have that in there, and sometimes you do callings, and they're like, as catch up, they're like, oh, here's a renown for you. And as you just kind of do some of the things in the game, you'll kind of find, oh wow, look at that, I just got another renown. You can get some from Torghast doing that. No guarantee if one doesn't always pop. Battlegrounds, again, there is a chance for some of those. There's no guarantee on some of those. Comp Stomp, LFR, Mythic Dungeons, you can get it for all those pieces. So that's exciting. That's one of the things I'm going to do is go around once I get enough gold, and I'm going to give all my alts this renown boost right at their 50 or 51 now that all the rest of my mains can bounce. Now, I have 3 alts that I've been playing for a while now over on my other account, not these 4 here. I left these up because I was going to talk about them a little bit later for in-game stuff I've been working on. But those ones over there are still all level 50, so I'll be able to give them once I get enough gold. I'm pretty spent. I've been smart enough to leave the guild money alone. I didn't want to touch the guild money. So I saved up and I've been saving up, and I just barely had enough. I bought all my heirloom upgrades from level 49 to 59. And I brought all the weapons up. Now, careful, those weapons are 7,500. They don't give you, XP like they used to, extra XP. Now if you have a set of them on, you'll get these little bonuses. You'll have to look at the bonuses. I remember talking about that a while ago. But so now it's just a nice feeling. Like now when I have a new piece of gear drop, I only got to look for it for my, feet, hands, wrist, and waist. Is that what it was? I think those were the only 4 I have to look out for. I mainly, in the beginning, I just mainly upgraded a few of the trinkets we regularly use. There's one that looks like a gold coin. You can actually make 2 trinkets. The other ones are like, you can only put one of those on. This one will let you still put both of them in there. You can put 2 versions of it, which is nice. And that same thing happens if you go and buy a 200-piece purple piece of gear at 200, and it's a Dark Moon card. Just a heads up on that. And I learned that the hard way. You cannot put 2 Dark Moon Fair card trinkets on your character at the same time. You can only pick one. So the other trinket has to be something else. But I got lucky. My main character had been as slowly been dropping new pieces of Korthia gear, and I've been sending it to my main Steph over here. So she's pretty much almost all geared. And then I found some cheap 200 blue pieces, and now she's pretty much all except I think 1 trinket. I was going to fly her around to get a trinket the other day, and I was like, I forgot to. So anyway, highly recommend that when you're ready to hit 50, or you just pop 50, you're like, ooh. Now remember, you can't buy that until you've got to have 1 character. Like that's why I can do it, because my main has gone all the way to renowned 80. So you've got to get 1 character. Highly recommend that if you've got some time to go back and work on that main character to get their renown to 80, then you'll have access to all these things. Now, there is a Shadowlands map toy, but it's not just exploring. This time you got to do exploring, and then you've got to kill all these lists of elites in every one of the 4 areas. I'm like, really? We're going to make it this difficult to buy that one now this time? Come on. Before it was just you just explore everywhere and you got access to that toy when the new patch dropped. It's like, really? I mean, come on. They're going to make us do that? I don't want it to sound like I'm complaining. I had all horrible. I think I put another rant up too on one of my recent ones. What a rant that was, I'll tell you. I've had a lot of people go, I feel there was no need for her to say that right back to you. Now, if she said it and I left, I wouldn't give a crap. But she had to say it right to my face. And I was about to be a nasty little... And anyway, we're going to leave that one alone. I'll probably... Not never, but it'll be a long time before I go back and buy a Subway. And I know she tends to go to that one. I've seen that woman quite often, but that's a story for a different day anyway. So let's see. Some of the other things I wanted to cover real quick. Let's see here. We've got the... when you do bounce that up, you will... I've noticed you'll get another copy of the mount. You will get access to the titles. I have given my first 2 characters their new titles, so I gave... the title for Bastion to Steph. Shiana has Night Fae, so she got the Night Fae when I give it. Now that I know I can give the bonuses immediately, I'm going to be able to give the other 2 to the Covenant that they're tied to their titles, which is really neat. And the other thing I thought about doing on my main is now, just because you can move through Covenants easily, like go to Night Fae, pop the 40, and then now the good news is if you go back. Let's say I go back to Bastion or the Kyrian, right? The good news, the 80 will stay there. The where is it? The Covenant, the mission tables, all that part that you've upgraded will stay there. It's not going to reset again. So then I could go to Night Fae, buy the 500 pop Night Fae to Renown 40, right? Then I could jump into Maldraxxus, buy one for that, pop Maldraxxus to 40, and then Van Thaer, boom, pop that one to 40. And then I could go back to Night Fae and then start grinding from 40 to 80. But it'd be kind of nice to know that maybe, the other 3 factions I could be like literally halfway to, because technically I am. There are 3 other alts I have that I had grinded to 40 in during the first major patch. And I'm like, oh, why did I waste my time? I was hoping there'd be a catch up for that. Ian, he had to switch gears now. Ian had an interview with the Venture Beat as well. I'll put that link in the description, and like I usually do when we hear about these. And it talks about some of the diversity, the toxicity in the game industry, and within Blizz Activision and things like that. He did hint, wink, wink, at one of the wishes I'm hoping for, because like they said, I like how he had worded that, because I always said that. I was like, well, if Jaina and Thrall can go and hang out and have a need, if you will, or whatever you want to, there's so many different words for that, for those, like, cider, non-alcoholic drink, for those that. Remember, this is a family channel. I'm not trying to encourage that. That's a whole nother psychological discussion for a different day. But anyway, if those 2 characters can fit, why can't, let's say my brother's orc wants to hang out with my night elf, and plus, if there's so many players leaving, you'd think now that they're like, and they kind of hinted that maybe they'll look at that again if there's a lot less player base, just to help keep. Especially since there's a lot more Horde than there are Alliance. So, because that's why they still have the recruitment bonus when you have War Mode on. They give you like an extra 15% bonus when you're playing as Alliance characters. Because I prefer Alliance, but I'm excited because this would be a great thing. Like, maybe all these years have passed, we get the cat people thing, and now we can hang out with cats. And sorry for any of you that are not cat people. But then I would be really cool if we could have cross faction, and that would allow you to, like, say, maybe queue up a dungeon, and you'll have, like, a troll come in, and an ogre, and then a night elf, and a human, and a Draenei or something. I mean, like, all this different kind of. That way, at least it allows you, because right now we're only being able to queue. These queues are still pretty long, even with a lot of, and then of course with more people leaving, sometimes they get a bit longer. And you're only being able to queue maybe, and I don't want to say half, because there's more Horde than there is Alliance. So maybe a third, or a quarter or so of people that you could really queue for. And when you're on the Alliance side, it makes it a little more struggling. I mean, thankfully they're crossing servers and things now, which is good, because that RP server I'm on is so dead. But I like being in an area that's so dead, and then you can farm rare things. But anyway, that's something else, I'd like to be able to work on if I could get back to. I usually will do that in the later part of the expansions, when I hope I've kind of tidied up some of the things available to that particular expansion at the time. I don't always have this kind of time either. Like I said, my time has really been taken for a lot of other things. I'm still trying to write a little bit, and it just becomes very, very, very struggling for that. Of course, the account-wide anima transfers, you can now buy these. Now, again, remember, these things I'm mentioning, you need to have one character to Renowned 80 before you can have access to buying these little goodies. And you can send now account-wide anima transfers. There's a little item you can buy for 1,000 anima, and then it will turn into 1,000 anima, and then you can send that to an alt. The alt opens it, and it will give that alt now 1,000 anima, which is nice. At least you're not sort of losing it in the transfer. I'd hate to see it cost like 10,000 anima and they only give you 1,000. I'm like, what that is a little disturbing if they like that. Just a heads up, fun fact tonight for those that might have to get up maybe a little earlier tomorrow. Daylight savings time gal is here to save you again. I'll put the link in there. I think we have are we celebrating, what is it, 10 years on daylight savings time. I don't know, when did we create that PSA? I gotta look it. I'll put the link in. I always like to share daylight savings time gal. We did part 1 and part 3 for the fall. Part 2 is for the spring, for spring ahead, and to remind people to change their smoke detector batteries too, or any other batteries. Like I've got a couple batteries in my little my new trash can. It's a motion one, so you can cut down on having to touch it all the time. You can just wave your hand across it. Just go, man. The only problem is I can't really have any other place to put it in the kitchen, so it's near where I come in. So the shadow of me as I walk by it, it's always opening when I go by, which is not a bad thing. So I'm like, well, that's a good, that's convenient. You have something with you. I'm not always having something to throw away all the time, but I'm kind of like, well, now I feel like I got to have something to throw away all the time to do that. Oh my goodness. Oh, shit, poopy. So daylight savings time is tonight. So just a heads up for that. Most of the electronics these days, computers, tablets, laptops, phones, smartwatches, most of those will automatically fix it in the middle of the night. But there are things where you might have to fix, like your oven clock or your microwave, or maybe you have an older piece of tech that doesn't have that built into it. I'll have to check. I think the smart TV does update that, I think, through the night too. I'll have to check, or I might have to run like a quick Amazon update for that, because that uses the Amazon Fire TV. I think it does do that. Don't quote me on that. If anyone knows, share that with me. And I know I'll find out as soon as I get off, and I'll answer my own question. But it's fun. Of course, we got coming up this week too. Later in the week is Veterans Day. I think I just kind of touched on that. Are you going to get, say, an oil change or a haircut? I could definitely use a nice touch up, but I don't know. Those are only men's cuts. If you're a woman or just someone that has longer hair like myself, share with me if you've known anyone else to go in, because usually I just see the men get their little shortcuts, or some of the individuals that have shorter hair that will just have a short haircut. I mean, it should be. I'm assuming anyone, and I've seen spouses and their children get free haircuts too. So I'm like, just trying to plug it's gotten much drier in here. I have to keep putting on Chappy Stick every few minutes. I have the little moisturizer, the moisture eliminators, or as they say in Francais, eliminate the humidity. So, I spent quad years studying that. I may have to start using more sign language too, because as I had mentioned, my surgery is coming up. We did verify it, but it's afternoon, and I'm going to be struggling. My poor tum-tum's going to be growling because you can't eat before it. And that's going to be a little struggling when you have an afternoon surgery, and you can't really move it to a different day to get it early in the morning. And okay, well, with that said, so Veterans Day is coming up this week. Share if you're going to get some free food or oil change, car wash, haircut, whatever. Some of the other, if there's something else there that, something new, maybe you're like, we can now get, we used to have this cute little yogurt place with this little frog on it, a sweet frog, but it was so pricey, and I would only go there on like Veterans Day and get some. Oh, so delicious. But I went down one time and I'm like, no sweet frog, no fear. But it happens, it was late COVID. I guess they had to shut down, and I totally get it. We've seen a lot of businesses shut down, sadly. WOW Community Council, have you applied for it? This is just, they're going to be taking like 100 people every year, and I know a lot of content creators right now are talking about this. Some are applying, some aren't. I did apply. We'll see. I mean, I'm not a huge person that tends to respond quite often, but I'm more than happy. And I don't know, let me put it this way. I'm fairly content with most of the stuff that comes up. And then I know a lot of people get really outraged. And I think, if something comes out, I kind of like, all right, I guess I'll wait till the next expansion, because they usually move on to some other form. And there's so much more to it than that. But I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a handful of things that I would like. I'd like to see this, and this for quality of life. I'd like to see this come and this thing. And I think the biggest thing really is if anyone's watching from there, if I ever become part of this. I know we've had this discussion quite a bit, and I know it's difficult, especially purists that like pure classic vanilla, and they're trying to get sort of that closest to original feel of it. They don't want a lot changing, but then with the restart coming, there was all this talk about like a plus version. It'd be nice to see some quality of life come in if they do end up doing a like classic vanilla plus, maybe some new content for the old areas that never got finished, or a new idea in that. I'd love to see achievements. I'd love for you to be able to put, well, maybe not heirlooms, but like at least mounts, pets, transmogs again, have the little tag for it. I mean, they could make it look a little different, a little bit more classic-y style if they want to. But I'd like to see just a few more of those little micro quality of life. If there's something of quality of life you'd like to see change, feel free to share that too. Or quality of life in classic or classic plus, or quality of life in retail. I know we've got a lot of good quality of life in retail. It's just I'm excited they're slowly moving towards a little bit better alt friendly. So I'm glad to see more of that stuff being integrated. I'd like to see maybe in a later patch that you can just buy an item to just boost your other character all the way to 80, or if you've already made it to 80 on your main covenant, you just, when you switch over, you're still automatically 80. You just have access to all those. Maybe that sounds like too much, but it's, to be honest, there's still a big anima grind with the extra anima that's dropping right now. I mean, I think I still got one or two of my Path of Ascensions. I don't know. Some people aren't going to upgrade their Path of Ascension all the way. I'm barely through the first page of all my transmogs and hearth and pet, and even those are kind of difficult until I started unlocking more of my conduit options. And then pretty much now each day in Bastion at the reset, one of the first things I do is I check my mission table, and I'll shoot over. I'll use the portal, the conduit portal over to the right side of the map, and there's always like 3 offerings I get. And it's real simple. You just click 1, 2, or 3 back and forth, and if you click the wrong bit, there's 2 bells. And you got to do it 3 times. Sometimes if you can't just click it 3 times because it's still on 1. It takes a few moments to move to, especially if you're on a lower streaming. So I'll do that one. I'll come back and I'll get the 3. So it's taking a while to get just. I know you can get offerings in other places. I haven't gone to the other conduits and unlocked the other conduits either for the other factions. That's a lot of work. And whether I'll get to that someday or not get to it, or just kind of finally give up on it, I don't know. But it's just something to always kind of keep in the back of my mind if I have some downtime. I just like to be able to go in the game, and a lot of people go in, and they're like, I have a little to-do list, so there's always something for me to do. When they're like, oh, I'm bored, and we get it. A lot of people will grind through when they've either already found all their old mounts, or they had time and time again to already go back and like grind all that old stuff. I haven't. And so there's still plenty for me. And I'm not someone that's like, oh my God, life sucks and I need to be buried in it. No, I do it because I'm like, all right, well, I need a couple hours just to chill. I'm going to have the TV on in the background. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to chill. I'm going to play, and I'm just having it in the background while I'm casually kind of, doing a couple of dailies and just chilling a little while I got something on. It's just a nice way to veg, for a couple hours, because usually I have such an ongoing schedule, and people think like, oh, just sitting. I'm not sitting around. I got stuff I'm doing here all day. And to be honest, I'm running people all over the place. So I don't know how they can think I have all this time to myself. I don't. And besides, I'm working on other things. I'm writing, and I'm doing other projects. I'm not just procrastinating in the game and not doing anything in my life. I have a lot of other things that I work on. I've got other clients and things that I hate the word client, but other folks I try to continue to help and work on and do things like that. So, and I know we're cruising along here. I think we're already almost at 40. I think this weekend update is going to be a bit. We had a lot to cover this weekend. So we're almost there. Let's see. For those Nintendo 64 and Genesis, and some of those are getting that new content for the Animal Crossing. I'm not a big Animal Crossing fan. I mean, I played a little around with it since GameCube, and then some of the variations. And I played, I think, the camp one that came to the Android and iOS there. And I still have the Nintendo. There's an online thing that I go on every Monday when it resets, and I get a few free coins. You get the one with a little silver coin rolling across, and a little character runs after it and chases it, and I tap that one. And then if you log into your eShop once a week, I don't know if you can do it on eSwitch. If someone knows what I'm talking about and can tell me, I haven't tried it yet. Usually I've had to keep... The only reason I still have a 3DS is because once every Monday morning, I fire it up while I'm doing my morning routine. And while I'm working out, I have it open up the eShop for me. And then I log out, and all that does is I'll log into my little Nintendo rewards program, and you go into rewards, I think it is, and they'll offer you like an extra 30 silver coins just for logging into their eShop every week. And I thought they integrated that to eShop for the Switch already. Maybe I don't even need my 3DS anymore, but that was the only reason I was hanging on to it so long. And to be honest, I was trying to do a trade-in, and now at this point, you really don't get much of a trade-in value for it, which is sad. And it's just sad. Might notice that I have to sip over here. I can't sip in the middle because the air flows in there still. I can't. Okay, that's probably the way. I just figured out how I'm going to have to do it, because before this was so thick. That's probably the first time I've been able to suck, some liquid up through a straw in the center of my lips, because you have to put an extra little bit of down on the top of it to push to make sure there's no air coming in. But usually it's been over here or on that side. And I'm just like, I can't do it. I used to be able to whistle. I can't whistle anymore. Well, I don't know if that's going to come back over time, but I'm like, I can't do that one with the fingers. I can't do that one. I used to be able to just whistle like there was no tomorrow. And now I'm like, I can't whistle. One of my superpowers or talents, if you will, it's gone because I can't. And some like, well, get ready. Your superpower, being able to talk every day, is about to go away. Now, look, I know the pros and cons with this surgery, all right? This is my wit's end. No, all joking aside, it's my wit's end. I've already tried 7, and then someone will try 8, and I can't do this anymore. And some will think I'm just having an excuse. Some will feel like you can't have that done, Dr. Fox. There's too much risk of you coming out the other end of either choking or a small windpipe or all these negatives that go with it. I need this done. I could not have gone to Thailand to do this. There's no way I could have gone there. And now we have it available in the States, but it's not like someone doesn't know what they're doing. I've done my research on it. All I'm saying is just no need for it to have that kind of negative reaction, because trust me, I'm someone who does her research first. Okay? Let's leave it at that. So we'll leave it. I'm going to see how my outcome is. I just know I'm not going to be on here for a while. I cannot speak for 3 weeks. So I don't know if I'll get creative like before. I can still text and I can write some things down, but again, my wrist hurts, so it's kind of hard to do a lot of that. And that's another reason why I've been slowly trying to hit a lot of this other stuff. While we were talking about Nintendo Switch, by the way, those that are looking forward to Star Wars Knights of the Republic, if you pre-order it, the money came out yesterday. They usually pull it about a week in advance. That game will drop this Friday coming. And also, for anyone that's interested, there's that new Tom Hanks movie. I like movies that cover characters that are, with robots. He's got a robot companion that's helping him, survive. And it's thankfully I have Apple Plus right now. I got when I got this device, it gave me a certain amount of time that came with it. And no, I cannot give my Apple Plus to other people to share it or use it right now, but sadly. But so I'm looking forward to if I can sort of see that one. And I know that the Charlie Brown, the holiday ones are up there too. And there's a lot of other stuff. I just haven't had time to watch any of the Apple Plus, but I'm really interested in seeing that Tom Hanks movie, Finch. I think it's called Finch, or something like that. Yeah, when Nintendo Switch, Nintendo 64, Genesis, I know a lot of people are up in arms about it. I thought I had the regular plan. I thought they were going to figure in a sub difference of like what you paid so far, and like let's say they should have a built-in option. If you have a family plan, they should give you an option. If you want to downgrade from that family plan, they should give you credit back to just do the individual plan, and then allow you to upgrade to the Sega Genesis expansion pack. But I'm sorry, for a couple bucks a month, you should be able to have NES, SNES, N64, Genesis, Game Boy, and a few others. They should not putting that tier behind another. I think it was almost $50 a year. Now someone go, that's nothing. Try spending $150 or $100 a year on Xbox, Game Pass, or on PlayStation Now or Plus or whatever that one is. Because I have that one too, but I have to look in alternate places to get it slightly cheaper when they have sales. I can't get this stuff at full price. It's like, what? Oh, they should have just, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. No matter what I say, it's like, here we go again, right? So, yeah, basically, that was really it. I think I really wanted to touch on. And like I had mentioned earlier, with the Renown catch-up on where you can hit all those as well. I think today, before we get on the calendar, I thought while we were talking about Ratchet last week, two of the individuals, at least in Gen 1, that usually stick together and get a lot done together is Wheeljack and Ratchet. So I thought this week we'd hit Wheeljack, and I kind of like the way that now this is the War of Cybertron version. I do have the original Gen 1. And it is die cast, but you can already see that sadly the metal has been fading all this day. It's well played with back in the day, but this is what he used compared to the War of Cybertron one. I was gonna try to sell this guy, but or like leave this one in car mode. But the poor guy is suffering. I think I only have one of the little angled pieces here is missing. One of the pieces for the back of the car is missing. I'm not going to go looking for that, but they allowed that for the back of the car for this one to basically look like the little, I don't know what you want to call them. I call them not antennas, but it's wings. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But and then they used to have like the big round missiles on each side. This one, I think it only came with one. It might come with two. I got this one unpackaged already. Someone had it as a display model. It was a little cheaper than buying him brand new. I was just trying to keep my cost down. So there, my friends, is Wheeljack. This is the War of Cybertron version. I liked it because a lot of these War of Cybertron reissues are looking very similar to their G1 counterparts, because that's how it was before. They said we were selling the show for toys, and now we can sell the toys for the show, if you will, and they're able to actually they've got more advanced. They can scan characters from older series to make them look much more closer to the animated counterpart than they could when you're doing Diaclone from where everything started in the early days when they bought the rights to that and brought those over. So I thought I'd share Wheeljack this weekend. And for those that get this as well, Amazon has been. They sent you the Ready, Set, Play. It's the catalog. When we were kids, we used to get something similar. It's like the J.C. Penney Christmas catalog, or the Sears. It's a Sears catalog. Oh, there goes Miss Mora now. She's decided to get up and move around. And just real quick, my printer is not printing out very well. Hello, my love. Keep giving Mama's rub. Yeah, I'm wrapping up, sweetie. We're getting in the calendar, and then we're going to call it baby girl, okay? And then we'll have our afternoon sneaky snack. So I'm not really going to show these on camera, but they're very faded, and because there's a lot of important information on here. They were kind of faded, but I've been waiting for the paperwork to come in for the surgery, and it shows it's all paid for. I was worried that, like, the aesthetic fees or recovery fee, anesthesia fee, some of that wasn't all integrated into the payment there somehow. So I'm glad it was. And it says paid in full. So it says 0. So I'm hoping there's no more surprises coming up. I did get set up with the VA. You can't do them at home. So the VA is going to have me come in Black Friday that morning. And I've got to do a release to my therapist as well. He's trying to get me another one of the medical letters. Not for the next surgery I need. I do got to get a letter eventually. I got to get 2 of those letters. But this is all the paperwork I had to sign and send back. And I printed out, like I said, it printed kind of, there wasn't a lot of ink. And I just don't have the money to go pick up more black ink right now. Or I hope it's not sticking and drying in there, and then when I tried printing, because it seemed like the last time I checked, there was still plenty of black ink. And maybe just because I haven't used the printer in a few months, I always worry that ink is maybe like drying up or something. And I'm sure there's a little technique you can do to soften it. But some of these pages didn't print out very well. So I've been a little concerned about that. But paperwork's in. I've got to do you have to do it within 5 days of your surgery to check. I've had my 2 shots. I've had my booster shot. I do quarantine, and then after you have the nose check, I usually quarantine until the surgery so that there's no concern about that. And I think I go in on that Monday. We have to go down Monday. We might actually have to go down Monday early because I think we have a pre-op appointment earlier that early afternoon. That's earlier than the last time, so we may be having to head down a bit earlier than I anticipated. But anyway, that's something for a different day. We'll get more into that as I get closer. I may have to just cover that after or any other details. I'll try to do like I did last time. Those that saw my videos I put up for that, I segued together all the pieces for the different parts as I was leading up to the surgery. That I had eventually shared once I was finally able to edit with iMovie on my phone. I'm having issues using the editing software on my computer. So I can't do anything too fancy still. But I've been trying to figure out how to use Canvas to make better title cards or whatever you want to call it. There's a term for that, and I forget the name of it now. But now, so I think with that, we're gonna. I love my calendar, kitties. And then we did get to see. Don't worry, no spoilers. We did get to see the Eternals, and I loved how in The Walking Dead, I was like, oh, she's from The Walking Dead, and I'm sure like, hey, maybe she talked to the other one that was one of the guards in, because she was also in Michonne, the actress who played Michonne. I'm like, I wonder if the actress who played Michonne talked to this chica, because what I loved is there was a line in Walking Dead with it, because this individual was hearing impaired. I don't like the word deaf. They were hearing impaired, and they go, that's a superpower. And I was like, ooh, how cool would it be to like use that superpower and be a superhero? So I loved it. She got to play basically the equivalent of Flash. Now, let me see if I can really fast. Yeah. So she's one of the Eternals. She runs very, very, very fast. And the actress who plays her was on Walking Dead. I was like, oh, nice. And she's hearing impaired, and I loved, because I've been studying a lot of sign language. It's another one of my languages that I've been studying a lot about, and I'm very excited. And I was like, oh, I'd love to sit down and just have a conversation with her, an interview with her, with some help, just in case. And I thought that was so cool. She gets to be a hero in the Marvel. She gets to play some of the Eternals. And I think the way I interpret that is, now again, remember, art is subjective. Every different art is, and again, with no spoilers, I kind of felt like they sort of portrayed, and maybe this is how Marvel originally was writing these particular characters. I'm not very familiar with the Marvel comic universe of these particular characters, but I'm sure there's someone out there that will fill me in. But I feel like the Eternals were sort of like those, sort of created after the mythic gods, because you've got like Athena, excuse me, not Athena. She says Athena. I guess I can't say Athena anymore. No, Athena is the other goddess. But it was kind of neat because each of their powers, I was like, okay, so Athena is kind of like Marvel's Wonder Woman. Icarus, is sort of like our Superman, because they even said that in there. Yeah, that was one of the lines. I thought that was hilarious. We definitely get a couple of after scenes. I'm not going to talk about those and destroy that for anybody who's waiting to see those. There is definitely some. That's nothing new, so it's not like I'm giving away anything. But that's what I felt like each of these characters sort of portrayed, that, like then you've got like the god of strength. And so that was kind of neat how they all kind of had their different aspects. I really enjoyed that. I think with that, like I said, we're going to now switch gears. I just wanted to show you real quick. These are the last two over here on the RP server that I'm going to be hopefully grinding. And it'll probably be time walking next week. Or if I have a little downtime, I probably won't. I've been just constantly right straight out, so busy. And it was just kind of nice to take some extra time with you and not have to rush through my weekend update. This will probably turn into almost an hour visit with you today, which is nice because we don't get to do very many of these nice long hour visits. So I did get these two done. And like I said, she's pretty much already all geared up at this point. And I think with that, we'll just pop into here. I just got to grab the calendar anyway, so I was just going to show you. And then, of course, my main, she's renowned 80, and I'm slowly trying to plug away at, like I said, I'm almost there. I think I'm maybe 1 or 2 more days of grinding to tier 6, and boy, I'm going to be so happy when tier 6 grind is over with, because here's the best part. On your alts, you can now upgrade your tiers without, as long as you have one character all the way to tier 6, you can upgrade them to tier 6, and I'm going to have to try that later. So, because I don't have any research, I'm waiting for my main to get that last part unlocked so I can buy that 50% more research that will drop, the research relics that will drop. So yeah, here we go. We've got Dark Moon Fair, that's finishing up today. We've got Time Walking coming up this week. I think this week's is with this, especially the Warlords of Draenor, which makes sense because the way they line that up is then we have the new Legion and the Mage Tower dropping December 5th. So we have the Time Walking, that's coming up this week. We've got World Quest bonus, that's ending. So World Quest bonuses, those are going on right now. That's actually part of the weekend quest that you can do. If you do 20 World Quests, you can get a bonus for that. There's a Deep Wind Dunk that's starting this week. And then there's the Comp Stomp, that's the one going on. That's the one mentioned that if you queue for that, you could potentially get a renowned for that as well. And then, of course, the following week, that's when we hit our WoW 17th. That's the number I was going to clarify with y'all. So you'll get a bonus up here, the little icon up here that'll appear. It'll say, WoW anniversary. Thanks for logging in or celebrating 17 years of WoW. And so that will give you 17% WoW bonus. The good news is if you die, that stays. Just don't accidentally come up here and right-click it, and then you're like, no, and then it'll disappear. So thankfully, a fairly short calendar this week, aside from, of course, we had that 9.1.5 that dropped last week. So it's a lot of little things to tidy up. Maybe a lot of you probably that I've seen and heard from, a lot of you already have grinded through all that tier 6. So a lot of folks are like, well, there isn't much else that's opened up, but those are definitely that I would suggest some to-dos to jump right in there if you've grinded at least one main to renown 80, excuse me. So yeah, like I said, there's a few other options. So I think with that, let's take a couple of things to think about in that first week or so that pulls us through. I hope you all had a good Day of the Dead over on my Instagram. The links are always in there as well. So if you want to check out that, I was celebrating, spending a little time thinking about some of my family members I lost. The good ones, not the ones that treated me terribly. So that's like another mini celebration of a list of many of them that I do throughout the year as well. So I was just celebrating that. I think it'll take a couple of things to contemplate this week. Call me on my next weekend update, or in the morning, as they say, and we will see you later.